What's up, nail geeks? I am back with Hella Handmade Creations, January 2021. This month I have 9 items to show you guys, and we have a lovely mix of finishes and colors. So let's dive right in. First up is by Danny Viana. This is City of Stars, described as a dark blue base, packed full of micro glitters and a smattering of holographic flakes for added shine. This is part of her mixtape series. Price is $12, and there's a cap of 100 bottles. So the formula on this is very satisfying. It's smooth, it's jelly-like, but it's quite dense in how it applies. So for full opacity, I'm going to suggest 2 coats on it. I really like the mix of glitters in this one. They are somewhat multicolored in appearance against the more silver traditional ones, and it gives this almost multicolored effect. So here you can see on the second coat, I'm getting really nice opacity. This does dry down flat, so I'm going to suggest a good glossy top coat to finish it off. It self-levels very nicely. For the most part, I think most are going to be perfectly fine at 2 coats. And next is Cuticula Shatter Me. This is described as a charcoal base with a tinge of blue with iridescent shifting flakes, silver flakes, and rose gold flakes. This is part of her Lindsay Sterling series. Price is $12.50 and there is no cap on it. So this is absolutely packed full of flakes, and it performs very well for being so dense on the flaky factor. I'm going to suggest 2 coats for opacity. If you do polish pretty thin, you might need a 3rd coat, but overall this has a little bit of that squishy factor to kind of help with the opacity. So I think 2 coats for most is going to be just fine. Now this is a little bit on the thirsty side for top coat. It is not super textured, even though as you can see it's just so much flaky action happening. So I'm going to suggest a good glossy top coat. Once again, you might need to use a glitter smoothing top coat of some sort, as this is quite thirsty for that top coat, and if you want it to stay with that super glossy effect, I think that's going to be best. This is really lovely, and I think the flakes overall just kind of take over that base color and give that nice silvery effect. And next is Femme Fatale, Sugar and Sequins. This is described as a clear base topper full of assorted glitters in red, pink, magenta, purple, and gold. Shapes include dots, shreds, bars, squares, stars, hearts, and hexes. This is part of the Candy series. Price is $13 and there is no cap. This is such a gorgeous topper. Now in our PR information, it was strongly suggested to use a sponge for this method of application, and I do agree, as the glitters are in such a variety of sizes. So I am using 3 coats of a milky base, and my video later on today will feature that exact base, so more on that later. Now here I'm going in with a sponge, and I'm just kind of gently moving around the glitters because I'm going to do sort of a stamping sort of method after I get the glitters on the sponge. So I think if you're going to use a sponge for application, which I also strongly agree with and would highly recommend, make sure that your glitters are put on the sponge in the way that you want them to show on your nail, and then just kind of transfer it on easy peasy like that onto your nail, and you're good to go. Now I did use a glitter smoothing top coat and a glossy top coat to finish it off, and it gives that really pretty gel-like appearance, lots of sparkle, and I would strongly suggest using a glitter smoother as this is quite chunky. And next is Kathleen and Company, Garnet. This is a deep blood red jelly with color shifting flakes, silver flakes, and hollow micro glitters. This is part of her Geology series. Price is $12.50 and there's a cap of 200 bottles. So this has a very jelly-like feel on application, but it does build up quite quickly to opacity. I'm going to suggest 3 coats on it to give you full coverage, and it deepens out really nice at that 3rd coat. Some of you might be able to get away with 2 coats, but I just think it deepened it out very well on the 3rd coat. Now this does dry down quite flat, so to give it that nice juicy jelly appearance, you're going to want to use a glossy top coat to seal it off. And I think this is one of those cool toned sort of reds that pops really well against warm skin tones like myself. So if you are of a tone similar to me, I think this is going to pop really well on you too. So on the third coat here, you can see I'm getting really nice flaky payoff here. I think it just helps on the third coat to maximize the flaky payoff on your brush strokes. Going in for that third coat, I think just flatters it the best. And next is Night Owl Lacquer, the Great Fairy. This is described as a lavender base filled with pink, gold, green, and silver aqua pink crystal chameleon flakes and holographic micro flakes. This is part of her Breath of the Wild series. Price is $13 and there is no cap on it. So this is a very lilac sort of lavender base. It's very flattering. It's very much what I would consider a pastel sort of purple. And for opacity, I'm going to suggest going in for 3 coats on it. It's got quite a mixture of flakes in here. And as you can see from the first coat, some of them are quite large. I had no issues with them laying down nice and flat for me. So no problems with that. Give your bottle a good shake and you'll have no problems in terms of fishing or anything like that. And on the third coat, you can see it really helps to bring out the opacity for that base color. This is a really nice ethereal sort of shade, and I would strongly suggest going in for 3 coats on this one. Now it does dry down quite flat, so I'm going to suggest a very good glossy top coat to seal it off. And next is Pampered Polishes, Erotic Friend Fiction. This is described as a deep inky blue jelly with hollow flakes, hollow micro bar glitter, and an aurora shimmer. This is part of her Bob's Burgers series. Price is $12.50 and there is no cap. Now the formula to this is very jelly-like. It's a touch squishy, but it is very, very dense on application. So I'm going to suggest going in really light on your coats and just letting it gently build up. I'm actually finding that I really like the bar glitter look, and that is really bizarre to me, as when I first got into indie polishes, I think drugstore polishes were really big on the bar glitter at the time, and I was not a fan of it, but maybe it's just the fact that it's something different and something new, so to speak, but I like it. It's really interesting, and it gives this subtle but like pond effect sort of holographic effect. Really interesting. So on the Pampered Polishes, this one does have that Aurora shimmer, but I think it is quite subtle in person. In person, this is very deep, dark, and vampy. In very bright lights, you can tell that it has that really inky blue sort of base color to it, but in normal, dimmed, and indoor lighting, I think it's going to take on almost a black appearance. Now I really liked that the bar glitter here gives this soft sort of sparkle in the background. And again, I'm going to suggest going in with a very glossy top coat to seal this one off and make sure it's got just a little bit of thickness to it to kind of smooth everything out. And next we have Penelope Luch. This is Merlin, described as a dark blue with iridescent flakes in green, blue, and orange. This is part of her King Arthur series. Price is $13 and there's a cap of 200 bottles. So this has a very jelly-like formula to it. It's got a bit of squish factor and it builds up very quickly to opacity. So for full coverage, I'm going to suggest between 2 and 3 coats depending on how you polish, and it gives off this luscious sort of juicy effect when you go in with a glossy top coat. This one does dry down quite harsh, so you might need a second very thin coat of your glossy top coat just to kind of keep it nice and glossy. Now I stopped at 2 coats and I thought it really plumped out very well, but again, this one's really going to depend on your personal preference. I thought 2 was fine, but some, if you're feeling very extra, you might want a third thin coat. Either way, I think it looks very nice. And next is Rogue Lacquer Queen Bee. This is described as a linear rainbow holographic base with hollow flakes, multicolored UCC flakes. This is part of her London series. Price is $13 and there is no cap. I really like this one. No surprise there, as a big glitter lover myself. I wouldn't classify these so much as a micro glitter sort of finish. It seems like these are more holographic micro flecks, if you will, and it builds up very nicely. Really wonderful formula, stays put exactly where you put it. And it's got those lovely little multicolored flakes in here too. They are of the smaller size, so it gives you this finer particle speckled effect. Now this does dry down quite flat, so I'm going to suggest, once again, a good glossy top coat to finish it off. And it's just lovely, silvery, holographic sort of effect. And next is Supernatural Lacquer Fire. This is described as a smoky ash curly base with fiery multichrome shimmer, micro hollow flake, and a touch of hollow pigment. This is part of her new series for Elements. Price is $12.50 and there is no cap. So this has a very jelly-like formula. It does start off just a touch on the sheer side, a little bit on the softer side, but I think it really helps to make that shimmer pop very well. And for opacity, I'm going to suggest 3 coats on it. It plumps out really nicely and it dries down semi-gloss, so I think any top coat will be perfect for it. In indoor lighting and dull lighting, the shimmer takes on more of this coppery sort of effect, and at very extreme angles, you'll see a touch of green shift with it. Now the hollow flecks here are really nice. I think it gives this sort of warmed up effect to the overall cool toned, dusky looking appearance, and it's really lovely. So overall, 3 coats, you're going to be good to go, and go in with a glossy top coat to seal it off and you'll be good to go. Now Hella Handmade Creations opens up for pre-order January 14th at 12:01 a.m. Eastern Time and will close January 21st at 11:59 p.m. HST. I will link Hella Handmade Creations shop below for you guys in the description box. The preview is up right now, so you can see all of the other items that are going to be offered this month too. Lots and lots of goodies. I really liked this month. A nice little mix of finishes here. And I'll also link you guys below to Hella Handmade Creations Facebook group if you want to get in there, see additional swatches, all that good stuff. And as always, if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching.